Arena was created by, it was a vision, but what underlies a vision is a passion. And it must be one of the most underrated parts of humanity. How many passionate people do you really meet?
It's a good place for people to mix together, share ideas, socialise as well as work together. It's just kind of a nice place to be if you're a creative person.
You can go into different rooms and there's different types of art going on, cartoon pictures, fashion stuff, illustration stuff, mad sculptures out of clothes.
Arena's quite unique in Liverpool in that it is affordable space for artists, and if Liverpool lost that, I think it'd lose something intangible but really important.
The reason why I set up Arena Studios in Liverpool was that I wanted to become part of a community. Is it possible to create a centre of activity, to create a cross-fertilisation? So that's how it started. That was the idea, that was the vision. I realised that what I needed was a building of a certain type that had different sized rooms, that could feel close, yet it was large. I eventually identified the building. Somebody said, oh, fantastic idea, why don't you go to Merseyside Arts to try and get funding for it? So I met with the director and he said, I think you're wasting your time because there's more talent in Wrexham than there is in Liverpool. I'll never forget those words. I wanted to create a really exciting community of people that had potential to progress and to develop and to achieve.
I'm Tabitha Moses. I'm a 32-year-old artist living in Liverpool. I've been in Arena now for just under a year, and in my art I explore clothing and objects as carriers of identity. I think I bring to Arena a different perspective because there are quite a lot of painters and quite a few illustrators in Arena. So hopefully they can see something different in my work, and it just adds to the richness of the whole environment. I make objects and clothes out of old stained fabrics or patched and mended fabrics, usually around characters and stories that are real. The aim is to maybe intrigue people and to pose questions in their mind that'll make people feel a bit repelled as well as seduced by these things. When you make something that's just right, that moment it's like magic's happened. It must be like the applause for actors. That's what makes you do it, that's the buzz.
I heard about Arena on the grapevine, just sort of word of mouth, when I first came to Liverpool, really. Everyone in the art world sort of seemed to know about it. My painting style is very much interested in textures, rhythms and colours. So I'd look at a scene, say kind of a ploughed field with lights and shadows on it, and try and pick out textures and patterns and rhythms that I'm interested in and bring up the colours. So I kind of make more of a scene, I suppose, than you see straight away. So it's slightly more abstracted than a realistic painting of something like, with interesting rhythms in a landscape. I tend to juggle work quite a lot, so I'll do a commission for a mural for a week and then, do sort of weekend work on and off from that. I'm just putting some details in now for this mural that I've been painting for Statmore's Visitors Park Centre. And basically what the mural is scenes from around the area, you know, the park immediately outside, really. It's just nice for people to see some colour on the walls. I mean, I'd say that this has kind of transformed this room, really, and it's just quite liberating to work with, you know, big brushes and stuff, and be climbing up and down scaffolding and stuff like that.
My name's Stock and I'm an artist, and I paint landscapes, and the latest landscapes, Liverpool. Been in the arena for 4 years. Started drawing stuff when I was about 3 years old. I got wax crayons and I've seen them, they were shiny like painted pictures. So I got onto the skating board in the living room, started drawing pictures there. And although I got into a bit of trouble for it, I quite liked it. When I was 13, I just painted my first train and got in loads of trouble there. It's against the law, you know, all that one. I was dead angry then. I paint on the streets because initially when I went to the galleries with some of my paintings, they knock you back any time, get you on like some waiting list and stuff like that. So I decided to turn the streets of Liverpool into my open air gallery as a protest to like the way they see, the way they think it is. After the 80s, after the riots, it was all these shutters appeared and everything became grey, and big streets of grey where you couldn't see nothing. And people bang on them or them rattling in the wind and stuff. Liverpool is my home and my gallery, and like most people, I like to decorate my home as I see fit. So when the people come to stay in my home, they enjoy to look at it.
It's free to come in and look around, and they're in different streets with different pitches, and they're there for the viewing pleasure of the general public at large. And I hope that you can find fun and entertainment in looking at the pitches, you know, have them at the traffic lights when you stop your car. They're not selling you anything, they're just to look at. Have a nice day.
Fine artists, whilst they can be friends and be great friends, they do not talk about art with each other because it's too difficult. Because they're all soul searching, they all get each other down. But if you bring in a fashion designer, you've got somebody to bounce your ideas off. Put a jeweler in there, put a musician in there. Think of all those different skills, put all those people together, and they love each other. They love what they're doing.
One of the benefits of being in Arena, having this studio space, is that it encourages me to think of myself as an artist, which still doesn't sit quite right with me, but this is my workspace and I come here to do my work. It legitimises that rather than something that I might just do as a hobby.
Is it okay if I'll be careful with it?
It's alright.
It's brilliant. It feels plastic. Is it acrylic paint?
Yeah, it's acrylic and it's varnished. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
The recycling that I do, I think, is important, and maybe just pointing out to people that these things still have a value. I go to charity shops and flea markets, junk shops, to find my materials, because in those places you get objects that you just don't find in other shops. They're one of a kind. I love where the colour fades at the armpits. Things that have been marked by the previous owners, and they leave these physical impressions, like a pair of old ladies' shoes where you'll get the shapes of the bunions, and God, it's the shoes almost take on the character of the lady. You just find unusual items of clothing, old things that they don't make anymore, objects that have a history, and where the history in them. See, this will have a nice lining as well. The details like this really turn me on. Sometimes you find bits of old like tissue in the pockets and stuff, which is a bit gruesome. This is fantastic.
We moved into Arena because it was so cheap. What happens is that the artists make it trendy. They make it cool. They make it fashionable to live in these cutting edge areas, like they did in New York. New York artists lived in Greenwich Village and Soho, which were very, very poor areas in New York. And what happens is that very rapidly, once you gentrify, the leapfrog effect happens and the developers jump over you. So overnight, the building that you'd had for years will be snapped away from underneath you. What do? You have to go and start it again in another area.
All our rents have had to have gone up. In fact, they've doubled. They may well triple, which is proving very difficult for a lot of people here. We are a very important part of this area, and they are actually trying to push us out, because this building's worth a fortune if it was turned into a block of like executive homes, which is what's happening to all the other buildings in this area. So if it happens to this one and we get cleared out, then there's massive irony there, because this is supposed to be the kind of bohemian cultural quarter of Liverpool. So if we go, then that just makes a farce of the whole thing.
Liverpool getting City of Culture would be the biggest Emperor's New Clothes seen in Europe for about 40 years, because if they don't help this building, and this is the culture centre of the city, it's beyond belief.
There is culture in Liverpool, but it's bringing that culture out. And the culture isn't the Tate, and isn't the Walker, and isn't the museums. The culture is in the people.
Late last year, I was given £1,000 from the Embroiderers Guild as a scholarship. So I've decided to use that to research nuns and what nuns used to wear before the 60s, and they all started to liberalise. Having long been fascinated by these otherworldly beings. Guide to Lords. Wow. Belts. I'm after a leather belt. Because some of the nuns used to wear a leather belt over their habit, and I really like that. The masculinity of it. With these... The masculinity of the leather belt over the habit is... it's just an interesting contrast. But I'm not sure if this kind of thing is right. I often find I'm interested in something. It'll be different things every time, but I'm interested in something and there'll be suddenly everything connected to it, like those rosary beads I bought earlier on in this book, all about the rosary. It's things like this, little photographs in books. Give you, it's that connection to the previous owners. Well, I think I've got to get this. When I'm buying things from the charity shops or even picking rubbish up off the street, I feel like I'm the saviour of these objects. Because if I don't buy them, they might end up in the rubbish bin, and then the world will forget that they ever existed.
Most people don't know that there's a body of artists working here. I mean, I try and tell all my students who I teach and people that I bump into, I try and kind of tell people that we exist. All right, so you're familiar with the kind of thing that the kind of effects you're going to get, but I want you to use it with this set of textures that you can see on all the different objects, and try and get a character of the different objects into your drawing. A shape that's going to aesthetically look quite good on your paper next to the one you've done. Off you go. Teach on a residential once a year at a place called Crosby Hall, which is an educational trust. And the kids come from all over the place, mostly Liverpool, and their age is sort of 15, 16, 17. So they come to do 5 days intensive drawing, painting, sort of making sure that that's where the light tones are. Do you see what I mean? Because you'll be kind of working backwards. All right, so just be aware of what you're doing. They also get to use materials and stuff in a completely different way than they would do at school, and that just widens their horizons really as to, you know, the whole art thing. We take objects from a small museum that's in the village, and the stuff in there is amazing. It's all stuff that's been collected over centuries really, from people's houses. You know, things that you wouldn't normally see, kind of old butter churns and little children's commodes. They're asked to work very big, which they're not used to doing at school, and very quickly, so we tend to do like time drawings with them to start with, so that they're kind of used to that, you know, working fast with lots of different materials. Quite often we get them to use things like sticks and ink rather than pencils and chalk pastels, different tools that they wouldn't normally use in a school. It's great to see them sort of really coming on and, you know, being excited about what they're producing when they didn't think they could do anything at all. So yeah, no, teaching gives me a real buzz. I love it. Okay, just think about last sort of 30 seconds, putting your final touches to your drawing.
This is the Liverpool city skyline with the 2 cathedrals on either side and the Radio City Tower in the middle. Very prominent skyline, and wherever you were in the world you would know that one is from this city. Graffiti is the original text message. You can talk to the whole world, like, and it's part of my voice. And I draw pictures with animals with voices, like a picture and that with like a mouth open going rah.
I was painting once on the train track in Bootle, and a big Great Dane and a Rottweiler attacked me, and I had to spray them in the face with the spray paint to get them off. And this Rottweiler like really savaged my leg, but you couldn't tell where it was or anything. It was in their eyes and the nose, and I think it saved my life, you know. And that inspires me picture of me dog.
I think one of the ways forward is that the key artists have to create links. They have to have the confidence to approach the Arts Council and whoever else is out there that can provide links for you. And go there, not cap in hand, but as a confident human being saying, we've got something that you want. We have got a community of talented people that can create a focal point as a centre of excellence in art and design in Liverpool. And that's what they've got to do. They have to have a belief in themselves. Arena is potentially, and I use the word potentially, a very vibrant organisation with quality and excellence in them.
Future of Arena, curtains. Future of Arena, kick the bucket. Future of Arena, it's all downhill from here, mate. Big bulldozers next door waiting to push us out. Fella in the bank waiting to come and repossess, you know, all the rest of it. It's the 11th hour for Arena, it just is. There's no way the artists can pay. There'll be a big exodus in a few months with all artists leaving because they can't afford to stay here. Definitely the final curtain for Arena, and the capital of culture will get all it deserves.
If Arena ends up shutting down and everyone moving on, it'll be a terrible tragedy for, you know, not just everyone in the building, but a knock-on effect of kind of, you know, the fact that there won't be this body of creatives within the city anymore. Everybody needs to kind of be aware that this might happen and, you know, get on board with it. Make sure the City Council knows about it. Make sure it's, you know, we're getting loads of publicity. Make sure we're like, kind of on the telly, in the papers, everything. Because we just can't afford for this place to go. We can't afford for it to be turned into another show flat or, you know, trendy bar. What we need is for it to keep going so it can keep housing, you know, creative, important people.
There is a need to preserve Arena because it's affordable studio space for me and a lot of other people. It's also this rich, fruitful mix of perspectives, diverse mixture of disciplines, investigations going on. And that has an intangible and indirect effect on the life of the city, the cultural life of the city.
I think they're being incredibly courageous in taking on that level of responsibility. How long they can keep hold of that building is something else. But they seem to love the building. Maybe the building is just right.
It's somewhere that I come not just to work but to socialise as well. It's kind of a lifestyle really. It's intrinsically important to who I am, what I do, so extremely important to my whole creative nature.
I think if Arena was to go, if we were to be evicted, it'd leave all these homeless artists with like nowhere to practice.
The situation's devastating, that's it, devastating. Some people driving around in nice cars out there who are part of the council. And I hope they sleep better at night, knowing that when their kids grow up and want to go and be an artist, they'll have to pay lots of money to send them down south, whereas they could just come here.